Who would have thought the biggest story of Cutdown Day would be an addition, Rube?
Not me, but
Not
it's
me.
a good one.
It is a good one, and we're going to talk all about it on this edition of the Eagle Eye Podcast. Reuben, Frank, Dave, Zangaro. A lot to get to. We were ready for a busy podcast no matter what happened, but a lot to talk about now.
And we always say a lot to get to tonight. There's really a lot to get to.
There really is.
Some days Dave says that and there isn't.
Yeah, sometimes I lie.
Like
and sometimes we fake our way through it.
We're sitting there like the first week of June and we're going to count down the top 10 kickers in Eagles history or something. Like a lot to get to. No, there's not. But tonight there is.
Yeah, today there definitely is. We'll start with the trade and then we'll go position by position through the roster. And then at the end, Rube has some trends. That'll be some fun things to come away with after this pod. But let's start with the trade.
Well, during the pod, not after the pod.
Well, for people after the pod. After we record the pod, people get it. They don't get it simultaneously. We're not live.
Okay, but it's part of the pod. I don't want people to think I'm just going to sit here after the pod and talk.
I don't think people think that. Yeah, I don't think we have to guard against that. But you're free to stay here as long as you want. Michael Bublé in the building tonight. Know you're a big fan. You can go check that out.
I'll be in the mosh pit.
All right. Let's get to the trade. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I was surprised by it. I didn't see this coming. I thought there was still a chance they added someone at the safety position because they kind of struck out most of this offseason, especially when they cut Jaquiski Tartt. You thought, all right, well, they still haven't figured this position out. And now it looks like they have.
Yeah, and Howie being Howie, he didn't give up much and got a pretty good player, a young player, 24 years old, but with a lot of experience. And, the biggest question to me is, he's got 12 days to get up to speed.
Yeah.
That's not easy to do. And if Anthony Harris was a security blanket, he's gone. We've talked about Anthony Harris. I made it clear that, I don't think a lot of him as a player, and I never thought they would release him. But if he's not going to start, there's no reason. He's not the kind of guy, you don't keep him around as a depth guy. He's 30. He doesn't fit into the future.
There would be some logic in it, especially because like you mentioned, you got limited time to get.
Yeah, maybe. And I think there's probably still a chance we'll see him again. We'll see what happens, but it's a lot to throw at a guy in 12 days, and we'll see how he handles it. And it's funny because we keep talking about. They've tried different slot corners at safety. They brought in Tartt, didn't work out. They've tried a bunch of different things. Marcus Epps has never been a full-time player either.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Marcus Epps, and I think he's going to be okay. But the whole position is in a real state of flux here.
Yeah, and it's a good point. We all kind of assume Marcus Epps is going to be fine, but you never know. And CJ here he's played most of his snaps in the NFL as a nickel. I think there is a natural carryover to what Jonathan Gannon wants him to do in this defense, but I still think it's somewhat of a projection.
Yeah, no question about it. And to get it, but if they can get a guy 12 days before the opener to help solve a problem, I like what they did. Well, it might take a while, but I'd rather have him out there than Anthony Harris, period.
Yeah, he's a playmaker.
Anthony Harris is not a playmaker.
Yeah, he's a 24-year-old playmaker. If you get a chance to get that guy for what they got him. So here's the terms of the trade. The Eagles got Gardner-Johnson and a 7th-round pick in 2025. The Eagles gave up a 5th-rounder in 2023 and the worst of their 6th-round picks in 2024. You remember they traded away Ugo Amadi recently. They got a 6th-round pick for him from the Titans. So
this is J-Jaw, basically.
They use J-Jaw in a roundabout way. This is what Howie does. He makes these trades that and certainly kill him for the J-Jaw pick initially. We're not saying don't do that. He deserves blame for that pick. But after that, to have this player that you're going to cut, to trade and you get Ugo Amadi, you say, all right, we're not going to use him. Let's get a pick for him. And then you turn around and potentially use that pick, or you get an extra pick that you're going to throw in this deal. It's impressive stuff. And I give him credit for being willing to make these trades. I don't think a lot of GMs would even bother making, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's true. He's very creative, and he doesn't like to sit still. And He's always his mind works in some complicated ways, and is able to.
He's a few steps ahead.
Yeah,
I mean, especially on these trades, thinking about just he has a very calculated mindset when it comes to these things.
Yeah, he really does.
It served them well here, and this is a 24-year-old kid in a contract year. He plays well.
Might have something there.
And you're really going to have him or Mark. You might not be able to sign both of them, him or Marcus Epps, but whichever one you want to keep long term, you'll have the opportunity in the first crack to sign them to a long term deal.
Yeah. So that's it's been a summer of surprises. Or going back to April, back to the, Howie likes to pull these things on unsuspecting public, and he did it again.
Yeah. He's always ready to pull the trigger on trades. It's amazing how many new starters are going to be on defense.
It's incredible.
Everyone's talking about all these pieces on offense. They really added AJ Brown.
Yeah, and Pascal. That's it.
But as far as starters go, they added AJ Brown. On defense, I mean, think about all the starters they added. They added Hassan Reddick, Kaiser White, James Bradbury, and now Gardner Johnson.
And then Jordan Davis is in the mix.
A quasi-starter.
And
they get Brandon Graham back.
Yeah. It's funny. Somebody asked Kelsey in a presser a couple of weeks ago. It was before he had his surgery. Asked him about all the changes and all the new guys on offense. He's like, we added one receiver. But all the changes have been on defense. And, look, Howie has given Jonathan Gannon every piece that he needs. Yeah. He's upgraded every level of this defense, up front, edge rushers, linebacker, certainly, secondary, corner, big time, safety now, big time. So there's no excuses. And I think they'll be good. And I think Gannon's a good coach, and I think people will see that. But this better be a top 10 defense with what Howie is giving.
It really feels like this is Gannon's last year, no matter what, right? Because if he coaches well and this defense is really good, then he probably gets hired somewhere as a head coach. And if it's not good and if they don't live up to expectations, then he shouldn't be back.
That's fair. I mean, there could be like a middle ground. It's not very big though.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What do you make of the CJ GJ trade and his fit in this defense?
Well, it's hard to say without really knowing how he's going to make that transition. Mm-hmm. He has played safety snaps before, so it's not entirely new for him. And I thought Nick Sirianni was surprisingly open. He usually doesn't explain these kind of things, but he said, he explained some of the areas where there's overlap between, playing nickel corner and playing safety, which was unusual for him to kind of go X and O on that.
Yeah, normally we have to wait for Gannon to get the X on defense.
Yeah, I think he brings an attitude. He brings a little chippiness.
I really liked what Nick said, and I think it's true. He's the type of player you hate when he's not on your team, and you love him when he is. He's like that. He's a hockey instigator. He's Matthew Barnaby. He's Ty Domi.
It's like, Phillies fans hated Bryce Harper until he's like the most popular player in franchise history. Yeah, there's some guys that just they rub you the wrong way until they're yours, and then you just love them. Yeah. So
he's chippy, man. He is a smack talker, and he's going to be fun to watch. They have to rein him in at times.
Yeah, and no doubt you'll be making some Friday calls to the league, I'm sure. Did Chauncey get fined for the other one?
Yeah. These 8 plays did he get fined?
But there's really no downside. You didn't give up much, and you addressed quite possibly the biggest need that they have. How many times this summer have we said they addressed everything but safety? And
they wanted to. I mean, their history this offseason shows that they wanted to. They tried to go after Marcus Williams. The price got out of hand. They went after Justin Reed for a little bit. They were interested in Tyrann Mathieu. So they tried to upgrade safety and everything fell through. So you had the feeling that at some point they're going to figure out a way to address this. I didn't think it would come this late in the process. And I'm sure they hoped that Jaquiski Tartt was going to suffice, and that didn't. He got cut on Monday. So it's an interesting move. And there is Gannon even talked about how the nickel and the safety positions kind of mirror each other in this defense. And we saw it out there on the practice field with Josiah Scott and Andre Sachere. And Scott's kind of now the backup at those two positions in a way.
Right. Yeah.
And even look, I think they clearly brought Gardner Johnson here to be a safety. He wants to be a safety because he wants to get paid like a safety and not a nickel corner.
Sure.
By the way, nickel corner is still very underpaid in the league, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
They're basically a starter.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's one of my things. I hate that they're underpaid. It makes no sense.
You want to know why Avonte Maddox loves Dave? That's why.
Yeah, it's true though. There's no reason outside there shouldn't be that big of a difference between the outside corners and
it takes contracts a while to catch up. I mean, 10 years ago, nickel corner wasn't.
I know, but now they're playing 80% of the snaps.
Sure, yeah.
They should get paid more.
And that wasn't the case not that long ago.
But our colleague Barrett Brooks brought up the point that, Avonte Maddox has played safety too. So I think they're bringing Gardner Johnson here to play safety. But if he's not ready to play safety from day one, they have the option to throw him in there at nickel, a position he's more familiar with, and drop Avonte if they need to.
Yeah, probably not ideal because, Avonte is better in the slot than he is a safety. But I think he's a stopgap as a safety. But, I like Avonte wherever he is other than outside corner. But I'm sure that's not the main goal, but I guess it is a fallback option.
Yeah, it gives you some options. And they love this versatility. And another thing.
And that's why they like Josiah Scott, because he has the versatility to back up both spots.
Exactly. And Gardner Johnson is he's fun. I'll have to go back and watch him a little deeper. But what I've seen of him is his coverage ability is there. And we've seen him mostly at the nickel. So it'll be a little different just in terms of he'll be looking at more of the defense a little deeper. But I don't think he's going to become a deep safety all the time. And he's going to have to carry. He's going to have to cover guys. He can probably match up against some bigger slot corners and tight ends lining up inside than Avonte can.
Yeah.
And they'll use them like that.
Yeah. Versatility, moving guys around. Can I do my Gardner rankings? Eagles have had 4 guys named Gardner, right?
Andrew Gardner, Minshew.
You remember Andrew Gardner?
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and I don't know the fourth.
1999 second-round pick. Played youth.
Barry Gardner, wow.
Played youth football against Donovan.
Barry Gardner is an agent now.
Is he?
He's a player agent.
Really? I wonder if he has Chauncey Gardner.
He does not. He has one Eagle. Do you know who it is?
I know Joe Panos is an agent now.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Panagiotopoulos is his real full name.
I appreciate him then for sure.
No, who does Barry have?
Sean Bradley.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I like that. Well, how would you rank the Gardners?
I would probably go
Andrew Gardner 1.
I would go Minshew 1, Chauncey 2, Andrew 3. Barry was not very good. I hope he's a better agent than he was a linebacker. But Andrew Gardner started 15 games.
Yeah, he was with the Texans. That's why I remember. I think I covered him in both spots. There was that random time where there was a Texans-Eagles pipeline.
That's how you got here.
Yeah, me, Barwin, Brooks, Gardner, Donnie Jones.
James Harden,
a little outside the box. Who was the other one? Rock Carmichael.
All right, let's get back to
once we bring up a Rock Carmichael.
Yeah, we know it's time to change.
You got anything else in the trade? It was fun. It's an exciting move.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see how. And of course, Nick Sirianni talks about competitive advantage that they're not going to explain how they're going to use them, but there's only so many options here.
Yeah, they're going to play him at D tackle. Yeah.
All right, you want to go through this roster?
Let's do it.
All right, we'll start kind of just at the beginning. We'll go offense to defense. They ended up going pretty heavy on defense. 23 players on offense, 27 on defense, which is what I anticipated. Some of the names are a little different.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. Congratulations, Jimmy Kempsky won our Eagles beat writer pool.
I forgot to send mine in.
Yeah, well, you saved.
Say $5. I'm allowed to say that.
I don't know.
Legalized
I thought about that. A big gambling commission.
Well, the $5 is for Dunkin' Donuts. How about? Can I just say one thing? I go into Dunkin' Donuts. I texted Dave, asked, "You want?"
Man, you're really.
Listen to this. So on the way to the Eagles,
this is my fourth time here
press conference. I asked for a large iced tea with extra ice. I get the iced tea. There's no ice in it. So I say, can I have a little cup of ice, please? It's hot out. And she says, that'll be $1. I'm like, what do you, just ice. I just want a cup of ice. She goes, it's $1. I said, well, wait a minute. I asked for extra ice. There's no ice in here. You can't charge me because you messed up my drink. And so she takes my iced tea. She pours half of it out and puts ice in it. So yeah, she lost my business anyway.
I'm sure Mrs. Duncan's upset about that.
They are not happy.
I am so averse to confrontation. I would have just paid the $1 and gotten out of there.
They weren't going to get my $1, not for ice. Sell me ice.
All right, let's go through this roster. We've promised this a few times now. Quarterback, they kept two.
My fault. You start talking about Rock Carmichael. All right,
Jalen Hurts, Gardner Minshew. No Reed Sinnett, no Carson Strong. I think Reed Sinnett, if you would have just had a decent preseason, and he would have been on this team, but he was just so awful.
Yeah, you look at what he did with the Dolphins last year. He had like 107.7 passer rating in the preseason. That's all. He didn't even have to do that. Just be good, and you're on the team. We didn't have a chance to ask Howie about Carson Strong, but I don't think they're going to bring him back. If I'm him, I wouldn't want to.
Why would you come back here?
I mean, he's going to get an offer to be on somebody's practice squad. So
you would think.
I would expect them to bring Reed Sinnett back. Although I'll tell you what, if somebody comes available,
take a look.
Take a look around, because I can't see Reed Sinnett ever really actually helping this team.
Yeah, and they will have 3 quarterbacks. Howie confirmed that. They will have someone on the practice squad, which is you have to. The quarterback's so important that you have to do it.
Especially here at the factory.
Yeah, the factory needs to keep going. Big hit for the factory, by the way.
Yeah.
Carson Strong not panning out.
Yeah. Clayton Thorson's available.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Running back, same 3 as last year. After all this, yeah. Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenny Gainwell. They cut Jason Huntley. They cut Brooks Kennedy. DeAndre Torrey was already gone.
Kennedy Brooks.
What did I say?
Brooks Kennedy.
That would work too. That'd be a better name for running back.
Actually, he would have made the team
Brooks
if he
Kennedy's
was Brooks
on
Kennedy.
The 53. Kennedy Brooks is gone. I didn't really see much from him.
No.
In training camp, Huntley had a few flashes, but nothing sustained. I think Huntley might be back on the practice squad.
I bet they bring a new guy in on the practice squad,
okay.
and Huntley might be also. There's 16 spots.
Yeah.
And I mean that tells you that they only keep 3. That tells you Miles is healthy. He's fine. They think he'll be fine.
Yeah, that's a good sign, probably.
Yeah. You think he's going to practice tomorrow? I think he will.
I don't know.
We'll find out.
I don't know. I think he'll be if he better be practicing next Wednesday.
That's what really matters.
Yeah. 5 receivers: AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Zach Pascal, and Jalen
Reagor.
I mean, I think probably until 3:59, Howie was working the phones, trying to trade Jalen Reagor, but ultimately, he's still here.
Yeah, and we both had him on our roster. They just weren't going to cut him, and I'm sure Deion Kane will be on the practice squad. I'm sure he'll play at some point. I don't know what they're going to do with Devin Allen. I would bring him back. I think he showed enough to, I think you made the point the other day that do you really want to spend the resources to develop a 27-year-old guy? But he has a couple traits that I think are worth mining.
He has one trait that's worth keeping.
Yeah, but he's tough too, and that surprised me about him.
Yeah, a lot of guys are tough. There aren't a lot of Olympian sprinters.
No, I agree. Obviously, he's got world-class speed, but I'm just saying I think he showed that he's a little more than that.
Sure.
So just the pace that he started trending upward was encouraging to me. So I think he's worth taking a look at. Britton Covey, I'd bring him back too.
Yeah, I wouldn't and be averse to any of those 3. Part of me wonders, I think Kane has a shot to get claimed. A shot.
Yeah, I don't think he will, but a shot.
I think Devin Allen has a non-zero chance too.
I agree.
Because people see the speed and team. You know how coaches are. They think I'm going to be the guy to get the most out of these tools.
Yeah, but I mean, do you really want him on your 53 for the first month of the season?
I don't know. There's some, think about if the Eagles didn't a few years ago, the Eagles would probably have him,
Yeah.
A few years ago when they were, we don't have to get into it.
Take him over Paul Turner
Bryce
in 16.
Scruggs or, like
Yeah.
Dorial Green Beckham.
Bryce Scruggs was actually a pretty good sprinter in college as well.
Not quite as good as.
No.
Yeah. We'll see what happens there. I do agree with you. I think there's a chance all three of those guys end up on the practice squad. A few other cuts, John Hightower.
He actually looked okay the other night.
Yeah, I think his time here is probably over.
I would think so. I'm sure somebody will bring him in and take a look at him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got, he's got good size and he's fast. Yeah, he just isn't very good.
I thought it was interesting the other day.
I believe he's the only draft pick they cut. I believe he's the only one of their own draft picks that they cut today. I think. Anyway, go ahead. I'm listening. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, I think you're right. They got Davion and Kayvon and the other day, Jalen Hurts was asked about his work ethic and if there was anyone who he feels has really benefited from it and like come a long way in that regard. He mentioned Hightower.
Yeah,
I found that interesting. First, that Hurts gave a specific example, but Hightower has some tools.
Yep.
It wasn't clicking, and I think a lot of that was probably on him.
Yeah, no doubt. It's weird. He's so quiet that you just never – it's just hard to get a sense of what he's thinking, what he's – where he is. He was the only one of their former 33 Eagles draft picks made the team, and he was the only one who got cut.
Yeah. All right. Tight end. Dallas Goedert.
Dave obviously just found my stat really compelling. Like, okay, let's talk about Rock Carmichael some more.
Dallas Goedert, Jack Stoll, and Grant Calcaterra holds off Noah Tangiai.
Well, now he's not on the team. We can call him Noah to go again.
Noah to go back to the practice squad?
Well, he could to go to another team.
Yeah, I think league wide there's kind of a tight end shortage right now, so they might lose him. But if they don't, I think that's an easy no-brainer.
Yeah, no question. He's a guy that I thought, if Calcaterra didn't come back from that hammy, I'd be fine keeping Noah as a third tight end.
Yeah. It really feels like Calcaterra came back at just in the nick of time.
You're right, and showed that he's healthy and still can be productive. He missed a lot of time. It's a weird, it's been like Goddard and Ertz for so long. Before that, it was Ertz and Selleck. They've always had two kind of really big time tight ends, and Stoll's really a blocker and Calcaterra is really a receiver. So they don't have that second. It's the first time in a long time that they haven't had that second really in a decade since Ertz was drafted in 2013. So,
I forgot to mention Greg Ward. They put on IR.
Yeah,
I'd assume at some point they'll come to an injury settlement with him and he'll be gone. But
yeah, it must be quite a toe injury.
Yeah, I mean,
he missed a month.
A turf toe injury, if that's what it is, can be pretty significant.
Yeah, that is bad injury,
especially for a receiver.
What is turf? That's like nerve damage, right?
Ligament, I believe.
Ligament. Okay.
I'm no doctor.
Dr. Zangaro.
If I'm wrong, please don't tweet me about it. I don't care.
I will tweet.
Offensive line?
Yeah.
Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, Isaac Seumalo, Lane Johnson. We know those five are the starters. And then the first four backups, we all pretty much had. Cam Jurgens, Andre Dillard, Sua Opeta, Jack Driscoll. As long as Dillard wasn't traded, we knew those four would be here. The 10th guy, a bit of a surprise, Josh Sills, undrafted rookie from Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and you were talking him up the other day. Turf toe is a sprain to the main joint of the big toe. A sprain almost exclusively occurs in sports activities, which is interesting. Your toe forcibly.
Well, you're not on turf in a lot of other situations.
Upwards. But I mean, you could be like running in a parking lot to.
That's athletic.
What?
Running is athletic.
But it's not on turf. Anyway, so it happens when the big toe bends too far up toward the front of the foot, beyond its normal limits. Anyway, it's Josh Sills, big dude. We kind of thought Jack Anderson had to take. This is kind of what makes it fun, not for Jack Anderson, but for.
Although he's someone who might end up somewhere else.
Yeah, he's pretty good, and if he doesn't end up somewhere else, he's a lock for the practice squad. It just shows you what kind of depth they have on that O line. I mean, Coyote Awosika is a guy who last year, I mean, we were both really high on him. I thought he was a potential, rotational guy at some point, and they cut him, they cut Jack Anderson, and Sills made the team, undrafted from Oklahoma State.
I think it's interesting, and my theory on this is that Sills is really tackle guard versatile, whereas Anderson is guard center.
Right.
And the Eagles don't need a backup center. They have Kelsey and Jurgens. So they probably view the tackle guard versatility a little bit higher than guard center versatility.
Yeah, I think that's true. Howie even said they play different positions when I'm thinking about it. Like, I think of them both as guards, but guard tackles.
Sills got a lot of work at tackle.
Yeah, and
this summer.
That's more valuable. Let's face it. If you can play guard tackle, you're more valuable than guard
center. When I started paying attention to Sills, doing my series with Kyron Johnson, I was asking him, like, who do you go up against most days, even though I can see it. And he mentioned Sills, and he talked about how good Sills was and how much of a challenge it was for him. So that kind of opened my eyes a little bit. And I started watching Sills a little closer. And so I'm not shocked that he made the team. I'm surprised because I thought Anderson was in the lead for that. And honestly, if you had to pick which of those two guys is more likely to get through waivers, I think Sills is more likely to get through. But the Eagles value him enough to keep him and take that chance.
Yeah, a couple of things about Josh Sills. He's from Sarahsville, Ohio. We get Sarah Baker a jersey, Josh Sills jersey. He only played 1 year at Oklahoma State. He went to West Virginia for 4 years and then did a grad transfer year at Oklahoma State. But he's huge.
He's a big dude. Yeah.
They list him at 6'6", 315.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think he's a little heavier than that.
Could be. So, really loaded offensive line. I mean, there's not a guy that they kept that you would feel you'd be worried about if he played. I mean, Sills obviously hasn't played in the NFL, but it's just incredibly talented. And that's, and they're all, I mean, other than Sills, they're all Eagles draft picks. Well, Opeta was also undrafted. So eight Eagles draft picks and 2. Opeta was never in another camp. So they're all 10 started their careers here. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is. And Sua has really, the more you watch him, like, he can play.
Yeah.
And he's probably the backup at both guard spots at this point, even over Driscoll.
Yeah, it looks that way. Yeah. Looks like, because Driscoll basically just took reps at right tackle.
Right tackle. It looks like you really have specific left tackle, right tackle backups, which is kind of a luxury, but if the players are talented enough, I get why.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. It's not a bad situation.
Although, I bet you if something ever happened to Lane, they'd probably move Jordan to right tackle and play Andre left.
Interesting. I'm not convinced of that.
Really? I think that's a much better line.
I don't think Jordan likes playing right tackle.
I don't care.
Well, I'm not sure he's as, obviously
he's not as good, but I think he's a better right tackle than Jack Driscoll.
Well, yeah, he is, but you have to kind of look at the differential at both spots.
Yeah.
And maybe I think they would play Driscoll, but it's a good question.
Interesting. We'll ask a hypothetical that they won't answer.
I'll ask Nick, and I'm sure he'll answer.
All right, let's flip to defense. Only 23 players on offense, like we mentioned. Defensive tackle, these 5 pretty easy to come up with. Fletcher Cox.
Once we realized that Tui Pelotu had bypassed Marvin Wilson, which happened, I would say happened in the last 2 weeks.
I'd say it happened first day of camp when he was out there with the starters. I think they were going to keep him.
Yeah, but Marvin, as far as what they did on the field, I thought it was a push through the first couple of weeks.
I disagree. I think Marlon was ahead of him.
Okay.
But it doesn't really matter now. It's Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, and Tui Pelotu. Kobe Smith and Marvin Wilson both actually played really well this summer. I think both of them are NFL players.
I like what I saw from Kobe Smith.
He was the guy in camp, and he got hurt in that last preseason game. He was the one guy in camp this year where I went, who the heck is that, and why is he playing so well? You thought it would be Renell Wren because he's a monstrously huge dude, but I thought Kobe Smith had a little juice to him.
Yeah, I did too. He was fun to watch in Cleveland. He must, he just had a great one-on-one series of one-on-ones against the Browns, and that was the first time he really caught my eye. I was impressed with him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not a pass rusher, but he's pretty powerful and explosive.
Yeah, and I think another reason Marlon Tuipulotu over Marvin Wilson is that Marlon's more of a nose, whereas Wilson's kind of a 3-tech. So you need that backup nose more than you need another 3-tech because you have Cox and Hargrave and
right.
Yeah, and Milton. So.
No doubt.
Yeah. All right. Defensive end.
Pretty much.
This is what we knew.
Yeah. Pretty cut and dry there.
Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Derek Barnett, and Teron Jackson. Matt Leo gets cut. He'll be back on the practice squad because of that international. Howie already mentioned it. That international exemption never runs out. It's just infinity. He can be 75 years old and still be
Supreme Court justices and international player exemption. The only thing.
Yeah, I'll give Matt Leo credit though.
Job for
that
life.
Last preseason game, he actually made some plays.
He did. He showed up.
Yeah. But those 4 were pretty easy to figure out. I still think that that's a position where I thought they were going to add someone this offseason. They didn't. They did add Hassan Reddick, who's an edge rusher, but no one at specifically defensive ends. That feels nitpicky in a way. But.
No, because, I mean, it is a different position. And
at times.
Yeah. But, I mean, if it's a different position at times, it's a different position. Michael Bublé traffic's getting bad out there. Oh, here comes a limo. They got a big white stretch limo.
Tell you what, the handicap section was full.
The entire parking lot is the handicap section tonight. What do you think of this group? I mean, Teron Jackson has been really, has been good, but we don't know. Derek Barnett's never been the player we expected. Josh Sweat had a good second half last year, but has never had a good full season. BG's 34 and coming off an Achilles. I just don't know.
No, I think it's solid though. I mean, I think Sweat's a very good player at this point. I know that we have to be a little cautious getting excited about BG because he's 34 and come off the injury, but I'll tell you what, he doesn't look 34 and coming off an injury.
That's true.
And Barnett, he's an average player and he's a backup now.
Yeah. I just Hassan Reddick he's got a lot of pressure on him to get sacks and get pressure and make life uncomfortable for quarterbacks because I just don't know who else is going to do it. And any of those guys can potentially do it. But, we'll see. I just don't feel great about that group.
Okay, and I get that. I still think it was an area they could have added. But you have the interior guys who are going to warrant double teams, especially Jordan Davis now. We already saw it in the preseason. He's going to get doubled. It's going to free up people.
Yeah.
And Hassan Reddick's going to be one of those guys who probably gets to feast off of it.
I would think so. Yeah, I would think so.
They kept the 3 Sams, Hassan Reddick, and both Johnsons, Patrick and Kyron. We knew Patrick was pretty safe bet. I'm not surprised they kept Kyron. He has a lot of upside as a pass rusher. He was a draft pick, and he's going to help them from day one on special teams.
Yeah, I think it became pretty apparent over the last, little stretch, couple of weeks that he was going to be on the roster, and he earned it.
Yeah, linebacker or off-ball linebacker, no surprises. They kept the 5: TJ Edwards, Kaiser White, Nakobe Dean, Davion Taylor, Sean Bradley.
Really, the only question was Davion, and we both had him on our roster. They just weren't going to give up on a 3rd-round pick this quick,
and they didn't have anyone else pushing for a spot.
Right.
The only other linebackers they had were Jacoby Stevens and Christian Ellis. Christian Ellis has been hurt, and Jacoby Stevens just wasn't very good.
You don't think Jacoby Stevens was pushing for a spot there?
No, I don't. By the way, I kind of wish that they would have figured out a way to use him because I think there's something there.
Yeah, we never saw it.
We saw it very briefly in his rookie training camp.
Yeah, maybe the first few minutes. No,
he had his best practice of his rookie training camp. He got hurt, and then we never saw him.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah. All right, you want to go to corner?
I wouldn't be surprised if he's not on the practice squad. He might be time for him to.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be on.
Yeah.
I think he needs to go somewhere else.
Agree. Corners.
Slay, Bradbury, Maddox, McPherson. We knew those 4 in ink. The last 2 deserved the last 2 made it in camp.
Yeah.
Which is always fun. Josh Jobe and Josiah Scott. And they made the projections and predictions tough because they're both injured right now. Jobe has an elbow injury, Josiah Scott a hamstring. And without knowing the severity of those injuries, I don't think anyone was necessarily sure what was going to happen.
And we still don't know the severity of the injuries.
Well, it can't be. We'll see, because there's a possibility they can put them on IR once they get through the next round.
Yeah, they could. But we'll see. I mean, I think we'll have a pretty good sense tomorrow when we walk out to practice.
Yeah.
If they're not there, then
they weren't practicing a couple days ago.
Right.
Yesterday.
Jobe did a really good job of gapping a really large number of young corners.
They had 1 million of them.
1 million of them, and when it all started, it was just this big jumble, and a lot of those guys were here last year. I mean, you look at for at least part of last year, Carrie Vincent Jr. and
Tay Gowan
Matt was
McCain.
here. Matt McCain was here. I thought Matt McCain might have had the edge when it all started, but
he was when they started camp. Matt McCain was the he was a second team corner opposite Zach McPherson.
Right.
And that spot kept rotating and went to Carrie Vincent. I think Tay Gowan got a few snaps there, but once Josh Jobe got in that spot, he didn't give it up.
And there were 2 other undrafted rookies
who both got more guaranteed money than him.
Yeah.
Blackwell and Goodrich.
Mario Goodrich, Josh Blackwell. So Jobe did a great job. Have we ever talked to Josh Jobe? He talked after the game, right?
I talked to him after the Cleveland game.
Yeah.
Quiet kid, just about his business. Alabama trained.
Yeah.
You can tell. But the one thing when I talked to him that I was really impressed with, I asked him about how daunting it was when he showed up here and it's a room
30
full
cornerbacks
of all these young corners all fighting for limited spots. And he was like, this is what it was like at Alabama. He's like, I had to kind of fight off players every year. And he started next to Patrick Surtain. He started next to Armour Davis. So he's used to that. And I think that really helped him.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think I missed that story somehow. I usually read all your stories. I'm sorry. There's a lot of them. And Josiah Scott's a little different. I mean, he's a guy that was here last year, and versatility is his big thing.
And it wasn't before. People thought the reason he might get cut was because he was a nickel-only backup. I give him a ton of credit for playing safety and playing it pretty well in training camp.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked to him. I guess it was the week before, one of those 2 practices before we went to Cleveland. And he was just saying how comfortable he feels doing it. And it wasn't a huge transition for him. And the more you can do, the more valuable you are. And that's why he's here.
Mm-hmm.
Valuable.
Safety.
Valuable.
And just Scott kind of fits in the.
Oh, no. Buble traffic is bad. 95's backed up.
Well, it's going to be over.
Backed up to Academy Road.
It's going to be over at 8:30. So. If anyone's a Michael Bublé fan, I'm sorry. We're going to get a lot of emails.
Bublé's playing an hour 50 tonight.
Yeah. Early bird special before. Safety, and we could have put Josiah Scott in this category.
I love the early bird special.
If there's I don't know what the crossover Venn diagram for
it's probably
Eagles
0.
fans and Michael Bublé is.
It's 0.
But there's like 5 people in that little part in the middle just pissed off.
The Venn diagram is like these 2 ring lights. I was going to move them over here, but I won't.
Please don't.
They're bolted down. Yeah. Sorry, Finder. Finder would kill me if I did that. All right, safety.
I mean, we could have included Josiah Scott here, but he's still a cornerback by trade and by name. So 4 safeties on the roster: Marcus Epps, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the new guy, Kayvon Wallace, and Reed Blankenship.
Yeah, two new guys, and good for Reed Blankenship, and good for Howie for letting the guys play in training camp and the games. I mean, so many guys earn it and don't get that spot, and they. I was a believer by about 10 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this kid not only was he making plays, he was never messing up.
Always in the right spot.
Always in the right spot. Physical.
Short tackler.
Yeah. And I think it was Nick made the point that he was a 5-year starter.
He had like 420 tackles in college.
Incredible. Howie compared him, and I like this comparison, compared him to Quentin Michael, who was also undrafted and ended up making a Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Jim Johnson, finally, I mean, he was a special teamer the first 4 years of his career, barely played. He was buried behind Sean Considine. And finally, Jim Johnson, he's like, I got to get this guy in the field on defense. And he went to a Pro Bowl the next year, in 2009, I think it was. So that's a good comparison. And Quentin was smart and physical and never messed up, never was in the wrong place. And Blankenship, look, I don't know how much safety he's going to play. Should be a really good special teamer, no doubt about it. So he'll help immediately on special teams. And someday I could see this guy playing on defense.
Yeah, we'll see. Andre Sachre is the other notable cut at safety. Good special teamer. I guess they felt like they had enough other special teams pieces. They didn't need that. And I'm kind of with them. They had, by the end of last year, they had Josiah Scott and Zach McPherson as their gunners. Zach Pascal has special teams ability in that area. So they have some other players who can fill those roles.
How surprised about Kayvon being here?
No, I had him on my roster.
Yeah, I did too, but I still.
Yeah, you know what? He played really poorly in the game, but this is one of those situations where, in practice, I thought he actually played pretty well.
I thought he was okay at times. I thought he was really bad at times.
In practice?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see that. I think in the games he struggled. At practice, if they didn't play the games, I would have said for sure 100% he's on the team.
Well, the games matter more than practice. So like that's got to change. And
not the preseason, not the way they view it. And I'm not saying.
No, but I mean, starting now.
Sure.
Yeah. So I don't really know what options they had. I kind of made my feelings about, Rodney McLeod clear. But it's an interesting group. I mean, Reed Blankenship is an undrafted rookie. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson just got here today, or hasn't even gotten here yet. And Marcus Epps has never been a starter. And Kayvon Wallace has started a handful of games and has been okay, barely. So it's still a work in progress.
Yeah, I agree with that. And they might not be done.
They might not be done.
And that's the important thing to remember here. And we've talked about it before, but things are going to change. There's waiver claims to get through. They could put some guys on IR after they carry them through. We saw them do it last year with Tyree Jackson. So things are still going to change. They're still, 12 days before the opener. So, and that's always the work. I feel so bad for some kids who think they made the roster and then they'll get a call tomorrow that they're getting cut.
I think Howie is honest with these guys, whether it's Josh Sills or Josh Jobe or Reed Blankenship. Look, we're always trying to make the roster better, and we want you here, but it's possible there'll be and other guys too. Mm-hmm. There could be moves coming, and we hope to keep you on the practice squad, but just know that you're fighting for your job every day.
Yeah, and the way the timing works, and this really came up last year because of Tyree. They can't IR a guy and use that spot to claim someone who got cut at this wave.
Right.
So it's basically like if they claim player X who got cut by the Dolphins today, they can't IR Josh Jobe and do a swap. They have to get rid of someone else and then IR the player.
Which doesn't seem right, but
and Howie's not happy about it, probably.
Yeah.
I didn't mention the specialists, but you know who they are: Jake Elliott, Aaron Sipas, Rick Lovato. No competition there.
Yeah. There are some punters out there.
There are, but as silly as it is, they really do value that mechanism of the field goal unit. And Sipas is a big part of that.
He is.
Do you have some trends here you want to get into?
Yeah, just real quick, a couple. 45 of the 53 guys on the roster have gotten here since 2018. So only 8 guys on the team that have a Super Bowl ring from Minneapolis. BG, Kelsey, Fletcher, Lane, obviously, Sayamalu, Rick Lovato, Derek Barnett, and Jake Elliott. That's it. 16 guys who were on the roster last year, 34 guys that never played under Doug Peterson.
Wow.
So only 19 out of 53 that played for Doug Obviously, 3 that played for Big Red, and the same 3 or 4 that played for Chip, because Lane's the only guy left from the Chip era who got here during the Chip era. There's like a monsoon out there, by the way. The Buble traffic is really, they're having a hard time. All 5 draft picks, as we said, from this year made the team. 8 of 9 from last year, all but Jacoby Stevens, and 20 of the last 24 draft picks from the last 3 seasons. The last 3 drafts are still here. 33 Eagles draft picks from one year, from any year, are on the roster. That's almost 2/3 of the roster are Eagles draft picks, which is ideally how you want to build. The rest of the roster, there's only 6 free agents. Only 6 guys they brought in as free agents. Hargrave, Bradbury, Pascal, Reddick, Kaiser White, and Rick Lovato, who was kind of a street free agent. 2 players signed off practice squads, Jake Elliott and Boston Scott. Only 1 player acquired on waivers. You know who that is? I think you do. It's going to drive me crazy.
This is going to drive me nuts. Keep going.
5 acquired by trade: Slay, Minshew, Josiah Scott, A.J. Brown, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Boston.
Now, Boston was
signed off a practice squad.
6 undrafted free agents, and their guys who were never drafted by anybody: T.J. Edwards, Sua, Stoll, Blankenship, Job, and Stills. 3 this year. It's the first time since 2016 Eagles have had at least three undrafted rookies. They kept 4 in 2016. I'm not going to ask you to name them.
Oh, Epsy.
Yeah, Epsy is the only one, the only waiver claim. The 4 undrafted rookies in 16 were Paul Turner, Dylan Gordon, Destiny Vio, and C.J. Smith, who went to
North Dakota State
with Guy Indy. They also kept 3 undrafted rookies in 2013: Matt Tobin, Damian Square, who I believe is still in the league or was within the last 10 years, and Jake Knott. Listen to this. There's more 6th-round picks on the team than 1st-round picks. 8 1st-round picks, 5 2nd-round picks, 4 3rd-round picks, 5 4th-round picks, 1 5th-round pick, Gainwell. This is Eagles picks, and 8 6th-round picks, 2 7s. The last thing I have is this is crazy. Of their cuts, 7 of them, of today's cuts, 7 were guys who were 27 or older, and 4 were in their 30s. Matt Leo's in his 30s, so technically there's 4, but it's a very young roster. Only 5 players left in their 30s: BG, Kelsey, Lane, Fletch, and Slay, and only 5 others who are older than 27. So 38 of the 53 on the roster, that's 72%, are 26 or younger. Very young team, a very new team.
Young and talented. How about that?
We'll see about the talented. I think they are, but you got to go out and play the games.
Do you?
Yeah, you do.
I didn't.
Howie said that
I
today.
didn't know that. You don't win on paper?
You don't win a paper unless you're playing crossword puzzles.
All right.
Yeah.
I think we've done enough here. You agree with that?
Yeah. Anything? Well, we talked to Nick and Howie. Anything else that we didn't go over that stuck out to you?
Nah.
From either of them?
You?
Dave wants to go home. It looks ugly out there.
Yeah.
I might stay here for Buble.
Buble?
Yeah. Buble? What
Buble.
is it? Buble? How do you pronounce it?
I believe it's Buble.
Buble. I might stay for Buble. What was this big hit? I might sing
you would know some of the songs. If you're ever in a mall, you'd hear them. I
don't go to malls. Ever since the Super Bowl, I won't go. Oh, he does that "Haven't Met You Yet" song. I know that one.
Okay.
They play that in coffee shops a lot.
Ben's right. Christmas music. A big Christmas.
He does Frosty the Snowman. I know that song.
He does. He's a big Christmas guy. I think my mom probably throws on a Buble. I think he plays the Christmas stuff like in August.
I don't think he does.
No.
Probably starts like November 1st.
I think it's before then. I think he's like a department store that he gets it out there early.
You think?
Yeah.
All right.
I think so. All right.
I'll check out the set list.
If you enjoy the Eagle Eye Podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. If you like Michael Bublé, please don't trash us. on those writings. We don't need that. That's it. We'll talk to you guys later in the week. For Rube, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye.